Excellent. Okay. Invite. Hey, Paige. There we go. Oh, hello. Hi, how are you? I'm good. Okay, good.
I don't know. Hello?
Hello.
Hey, wait, where's my camera? What is going on? Oh, okay,
Figure it
wait.
out.
Oh, it's like weird. It's like enhanced and the preview's blurry. I'm hoping I'm not blurry. Cool.
No, you're pretty clear.
Oh,
Clear. Oh, he did. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to finally meet you face to face, more or less.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
I'm moving the tripod closer. Sorry.
you're good.
I
So
tried to
release date is
barely.
on the first officially.
It's on the first. It's on Thursday, so it is like super soon. Sorry, I'd like a little less at the top of my head, so I'm just gonna move this ring light down a little bit. Okay. Yes. Good. Yeah, so the release date for I'm in Love with Mothman, it's on Thursday, so the first, yeah.
Exciting. So how well
Um,
has that been going? Like,
um, I think it's been going pretty good so far. I set like a little goal for myself. I had these little keychains and I did 40 of them, and as of today they were all claimed. It's I can't really know as well as like sales and stuff how well it's going because I'm publishing through Four Horsemen. They've been wonderful so far. But I don't have any of that. Like previously, I'd self-published, and it was so cool to be able to see all of the data. And
mhm.
now I'm just completely, I have no idea. So I know that they're excited and they've been really supportive. And I've been tagged in a couple of reviews. And okay, so I'm doing the age-old advice of don't read the reviews, but sometimes my husband's checking in and he'll look at the Goodreads page and then like show me, and it's really nice.
It's really nice when someone else sends you like a 5 star or they're like, "Oh, I really liked this review." But yeah, no, absolutely, especially with something that's going to go as wide as Mothman is. Uh, Definitely, especially for like the first week when people are just starting to bum rush the page. Don't look,
Just not
don't look at anything. Just pretend like it's not existing and just talk about it, but like don't look at the words because there's always the chance that, um, that some people are just gonna be cruel because they can.
Mhm.
But
not
it,
not everything is for everyone too.
mhm.
So, there's like I'm sure there's going to be people who just don't like it, and I'm sure there are people who are going to it's going to have elements and tropes that they just don't vibe with, and
Yeah,
that's okay. Like I always remind myself with reviews that there are books that are wonderfully received that I didn't like. So it's okay if people don't like what I've written. But I
right,
don't
and
want to read
especially
it.
with
I don't want to know.
especially with like monster romance, I've come to realize that like not all of my monsters are gonna be everyone's favorite, and I'm totally okay with that. Some people are only gonna like my monsters that look mostly human,
Mhm.
and it's my more unhinged ones that like my true readers, like my ride or die people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I
Oh,
loved him.
yeah, oh, hang on. Is this a dress or a top? This is from Unique Vintage and it's like this cute little dress. I wore it because I looked in my closet. I'm like, what is the most Ophelia-esque piece that I
Yes.
have? Speaking of monsters, Mr. Hauntings.
Talk about like my first foray into officially letting loose and just being like, you know what? I am gonna put my name on a monster because I've always been a monster fudger. I've just been quiet about it. And then me going in and being like, you know what I want to do? Off the rails. Purple, tentacles on the face, tentacles on the hips, everything. The Wiggly Boys. I was unsupervised. So
I need to know, and you've probably already addressed this at some point in time, but will there be a spinoff with the side characters?
Oh, so Bugbear Dan does have his own story. His novella, The Bugbear's Heiress, is
I saw
officially
that one.
out. So he gets his own side story. We get to see some of the other warehouse workers. I have been toying with the idea of putting on the docket because Marcus does have brothers
Oh,
um,
yeah.
that didn't quite leave when he left. And I've always wanted to come back around and do one of his brothers as they're getting to King's Fall and trying to sort out being human, essentially, from being one of the bad guys to being an actual good person. And so his brother is on the docket. I just there are a few things that were already in front of it, but yeah,
Too many ideas all the time.
my sticky note is just getting progressively like longer and longer with every passing second. So, but what comes after Mothman? Do you have any idea what you're doing next?
So writing wise, I've got a couple things again, like sticky noted everywhere. I have a YA coming out in the spring with Orange Blossom Publishing called Our Own Little Underworld. So if you want a light, like, well, no spice, it's just yearning and some smooches. Um, but it's about a sweet little goth boy who is the son of the local mortician who loves to draw in the cemeteries and is very misunderstood. And the other love interest is the very sheltered daughter of a midwife. So we have life and death, and it's like a modern day Hades and Persephone. So like high school AU. I love them so much, Hayden and Percy, and yeah, so if you enjoy Mothman and the elements of running away into the woods together, making flower crowns, sweet little there's light on the banter, more a light teasing and very like sweet swoony. Oh, hang on, we have a special guest. Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
I love special guests. Oh, you're so cute.
This is Oliver.
Oh,
He's
Oliver, you're a lot bigger than I thought you were gonna be.
big.
So cute, though. You're like a little mop. You're so fluffy.
He's a squishmallow. You
Aww.
want to be sitting next to me? That's good. I like the company. So that will come out in the spring, and I get to
Mhm.
reveal the cover in January, and it's so cute. You know, like when you see something and you're like, my teenage self would have lost their minds. Because I was the teenage goth drawing in the cemetery. And so
Fair.
there's like a lot of myself that I put into this one. And a lot of myself I put into Mothman too, but it's fun. I'm like excited to I when I first started writing it was YA, so it's going to be interesting to go back into that. But I'm loving adult paranormal romance. It's very freeing.
Yeah. And being able to be like, you know what? If they do something weird, that's okay because I can break like genre norms here. And
Yeah.
if we're doing feet tickling to other tickling of other places, I can do because the world is my oyster when it comes to adult. With YA, I love reading YA. It like it heals a part of my inner child to read YA
Yeah.
and to like see all these adventures that I would never have had otherwise. And there's so much more like fantasy adventure in YA than there is in like adult fiction. And I think that's why I like YA fantasy because YA fantasy makes worlds that I want to explore.
Hmm.
Adult fiction gives me relationships that I love, but YA fantasy has like this magicalness that a lot of people just it's kind of hard to put down a YA fantasy because there's so much and you just gobble the whole book up in one setting.
Hmm. Yeah. Although I feel that way with monster romance, where I feel like I sit down and I get through a book in like 1 to 2 days, and that is just like such a nice experience. Oh, puppy, I know. Our Own Little Underworld is such a great title. Thank you. took me a while to title it. It was just like the Hades and Persephone one, the this and that, and then that like came up in dialogue, and it was one of those like, let me just.
Up on the title section, you go on the subject.
Yeah, I
Um,
was worried it was too long, honestly, and it's nice to see these very like flowy long titles. I'm like, okay, it's fine.
and also like the strange titles are getting really big in like one of my friends, Petra on here, her title of her Vela story is I just wanted to get sushi, but I got kidnapped by aliens.
Yes, that's such like I feel like a manga anime thing too. Like
Yeah,
it reminds me of the like I died and got reincarnated as a slime.
right.
Like those
Five.
really long, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Manga do have really long titles.
yes, and it kind of goes with I don't know if you watched the Harley Quinn movie, but originally
Mhm.
it was the emancipation and empowerment of Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. It was like a
Mhm.
huge title, and then they like knocked it down to Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. But I absolutely love when titles either, yeah, exactly, like Moonmont says, when they show up in the dialogue, or like there's a moment when it starts to piece together and it like ties in. And the more obscure or the cutesier it is, the better. Like the better the payoff.
Yeah, I love it.
Um, so since I know that you're a genre jumper, you started in YA and then moved
Mhm.
to adult romance.
Yeah, this is my first. I'm gonna pick it up again because it's beautiful. This is my first adult book. So Heather is 22, so it still does have some of those like coming of age themes as being like that getting into adulthood and still feeling like you're finding yourself. I feel like we're always finding ourselves, whether
Mm.
you are 16 or 30. There's always new things to discover. So she's really like breaking away from the life she's always known to find something new. Um, and it was really fun to write a character in her 20s and
Mhm.
not be strained by but does she have to go to school? And like, what are her parents? I mean, she actually does have kind of a complicated relationship with her mom. So the what does her parents think about that comes into play no matter what age you are, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was freeing to when I first started writing, this was very much like me memeing, where it was in the middle of the pandemic and I was feeling all sorts of things, very antsy. And I'm just like, I just want to run off to a cabin, like mentally, like and write something that's like a total escape for me. And I
Mhm.
just started goofing about Mothman, and now I have a whole book. It's
Uh,
just it's fun. People like will ask me why Mothman. I'm like, have you seen him?
he's the best. He's so fluffy and he's got cake, like absolute cake.
Yeah, yeah. The I feel like I learned more and more about Mothman as I was writing, and people would say stuff about the shiny hiney, and I was like, oh, yeah, that is very
Yeah, it
effective.
draws people in, and it always makes me giggle when they talk about how before Mothman kind of got big, it was just the people in town.
Hmm.
But now that town gets like surrounded by tourists who are just there for Mothman, and
I
like
want
the
to
first couple
go.
years, baffling.
I want to go so bad next year. I We're talking about it. And I'm like, how can I do a book signing at
Right.
Mothman
In
Festival?
Mothman Central.
Please. Yeah, like be so much fun. And like I just want to know. I want to know what that vibe is like. I want to also just take a picture with the statue. But oh, I got all sidetracked. After our own little underworld, it's going to be the next Mothman book. So this is going to come. The second one is going to come out before the Mothman Festival, which means that I should be there to
Right.
celebrate.
To do your launch party at the Mothman Festival. That would
That's
be
the dream. That's the absolute dream.
uh, perfect PR too. Like, hey, it's a Mothman festival. I have two Mothman books. They go together. You should read them.
And they may or may not in the second book end up at the Mothman Festival. So like really just a fun tie-in there.
Love that. So you're sitting at your house, it's the pandemic, you've started just writing your escapism. Um, you went straight for the kill by going directly past regular romance into paranormal romance and directly into monster romance. What were like the steps? Like, was there any ideas prior to
No
Mothman, or
steps.
was it?
No, there have been like ideas that were kind of more of fantasy that I've sort of toyed around with in the back of my mind. I've got a couple of different vampire ideas, but nothing grabbed me the way this grabbed me. And I also wasn't super aware that monster romance was a genre. Like, I knew there was monster erotica, but I didn't know that there was anything sort of in between.
Mhm.
Like kind of like those sweet romances and more of the really, really sexy stuff. And like, I like
Mhm.
all of it. But for me, I was like, oh, I don't even know that anyone, I'm going to write this for me because I don't know that I don't know who, if anyone's going to want this. Is this like too off the wall?
Right.
Meanwhile, I finish the book and I start like diving into monster romance. I'm like, oh, this is like the most wonderful community. It's so friendly. Like, and I haven't been married for that long, but it seems just like really, really welcoming. So I'm glad that I kind of hopped across all of the more
Right.
conventional
Went
romance
straight
right
into the
here.
community you
I
wanted.
also feel like the spooky community, like the Halloween community in general, like it is pretty friendly. Like we're, like yeah.
I love that. So, when you were coming up with the story, what kind of sparked the idea? Because Heather's obviously a kind of a content creator. She's
Mhm.
burned out and decides, I'm just going to pack my stuff and disappear into the woods. Um, what kind
There
of inspired that?
were a couple of things. I've been online for a while. I'm 32, and so
Hmm.
I've been online since I was like 15, like MySpace, doing the geosites websites. And I think that sometimes, especially during COVID,
Hmm.
most of COVID was very much locked down. I was pregnant, and so like it was like
Oh,
medically advised to not be out and about. Like my doctors were very wanted to just bubble
right.
wrap me, so I was following all their advice. And especially in the beginning, we didn't really know anything. Not to get like deep into that sort of stuff, but I was feeling that isolation, especially towards the end of it. And I just wanted like a fun writing project to really play with, just like feel really free, that it didn't have any specific goals. I didn't have to make it marketable or readable or for anyone else. This was just going to be my little stress project. I always like having a garbage draft to
Hmm.
just dump stuff into. And this very, very quickly became not a garbage draft and just like, oh, I love this. This might be my favorite thing I've ever worked on. So I just like kept going with it. Let me see. What was the rest of the question? I feel like I started to.
Um, kind of what sparked
What
Heather
sparked it?
specifically?
Okay, yes. So with Heather, um, feeling all of this like most of my socialization during that time frame was just the internet, and I
Hmm.
was so sick of it. Um, and I have some friends who we were all talking together about these pressures of making content, it performing well, um, these numbers, and trying to keep an eye on your analytics. And oh my gosh, I'm losing followers. And it's a lot of like stresses and pressures to build an audience. And I feel like we see that in all sorts of influencer communities. So there were a couple people who sort of inspired her. Alexis from Schitt's Creek,
Hmm.
thought about her just moving to a small town. Um, and then in like the real world, I thought about influencers like Michelle Phan. She's that really big beauty influencer who just went radio silent and kind of, I think she ended up like finding herself in Switzerland, like living on a farm for a year or something. And then she went back online just talking about how much pressure she felt. So I thought about, while I was creating Heather, I thought about her story. I thought about a lot of my TikTok feed in particular was these people who kept coming up that were children of like original mommy bloggers talking
Mhm.
about how embarrassing it was to have so much of their childhoods just broadcasted without their consent. And that's Heather's background. So that was such a missing piece for her. I'm like, oh, she's been online since she even could decide that she
Mhm.
wanted this. Um, so, in her mother's eyes, it's like, oh, well, you had such a running start for your blog because you've always been a part of mine. But for Heather, she's like sorting out, well, like all these people know all this stuff about me and they will always know this forever. So
Mhm.
she kind of never felt like she had a choice and is very like pigeonholed into this like beauty influencer path. Um, so yeah, there was like elements of like personal conversations with friends, stories that I read online about getting really popular really fast or having a parent who's in that blogosphere. It really changed the way I looked at a lot of different content, especially like the family content, because it can just
Yes.
get, yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
so I liked writing that mother daughter relationship and the complexities there because truly Heather's mom, she's very selfish in that way, but she doesn't think like it's all just kind of like, oh, well, this is me sharing on my internet scrapbook and this is good for both of us. And haven't we had fun together? And she's not thinking about like those bigger consequences of what this means for her daughter. And Heather's very much fallen into that like people pleaser of, well, this makes my mom happy. And how can I continue to sort of like, you know, get the big smiles for the camera and stuff. So by the time she's 22 and on her own and making her own content, she's just kind of done.
Mm,
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of like combination of thinking about this as a fictional character, thinking about different people's stories. Sad Beige on TikTok will talk
Yeah.
about this sort of content too. And seeing a lot of that made me go like, this is an interesting dilemma to be dealing with in this time in particular.
Right. And it's kind of one of those we've started to meet the children of the mommy bloggers
Mhm.
that were going live when we started seeing YouTubers get big. And so
Yes.
it's honestly kind of about the right time for this book to go out because they're here and they're living lives. It's kind of like the child celebrity of, you're the
Hmm.
child of some big movie star, and so everyone expects you to be a certain way.
Yeah, exactly. I also really loved the contrast where we have Mothman who has all of these articles and rumors and things online if you Google him, and then you have Heather who if you Google her screen name, you're seeing all these rumors and things online and they all end up in the woods together hiding from these things and finding each other. So that was really fun to do.
I love that. But before we get too much into the book, because I will actually pull this book apart because I'm so excited to get my tiny little gerbil hands in it. Um, how did you get your start?
Like just writing in general.
Yeah.
I started my first book was a NaNoWriMo project. So but before that, I did web comics forever. So I had been making web comics and posting them like literally on those like geo sites,
Yeah.
MySpace, since I was, I think about 15. So I had a web comic. No one has ever heard of this, but the Graveyard Girls was my first one, and I made like all these little gothy Tim Burton inspired things. And then that morphed where I took those characters and I put them into a series that I called Pumpkin Spiced. Before like everyone was crazy for Pumpkin Spiced, it was like I'm like, oh, it's like the fall flavor and it's gonna be like
Right.
cute and there's like a zombie and a vampire, and it was I think it still lives somewhere on Taptastic. The domain has long since expired, but I am not that much of an artist. I can manage something like this, but beyond like little doodles and stuff, keeping up with a web comic made me realize that the art part wasn't the thing I was the most excited about. It was the story and the writing. So I think it was NaNoWriMo 2015 or no,
Mhm.
2013 that I like actually sat down and I wanted to write my first book. And that was like what kind of switched it over for me. It was like, oh, I think this is what I want to do. I think that webcomics was fun, but like actually just doing the words part is more my speed.
Fair, fair. So then, because you do art, did you do your own cover or did Four Horse do that for you?
Sorry, the face. I'm not this good. This was oh gosh, I am forgetting the name of the artist off the top of my head. I don't know if I can open up Instagram, but
Oh, you
he
did.
is, oh, can I? Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't because it'll pop you out of TikTok.
Can you see me still?
Uh,
Nope. Hello? I
yeah,
have
you're
her
good.
text in my cover reveal. Um, okay, so beautiful artist. I had been following her for a while, and I asked if she would just do the characters. Um, and so Valerie Willis, she did the cover, and she took the character art and then made the rest of the design around it. So
Oh.
I did the sketch. I did like a really, really rough sketch of Heather and Moth with the pose, and then she made it beautiful. Because it was the equivalent of like stick figures where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna map out this and kind of this expression, and she is holding a phone. Um, and I have the sketches for the next two covers, and it is so fun. I'm debating on having Heather because she's in like a selfie dress here.
Mhm.
I kind of want her to wear the strawberry dress, like the big TikTok famous, like in one of the
Yes,
next ones. So it'd be so cute. And I'd like
it'd be
to, we
fantastic.
still need to talk about it, but since there's red roses here, I'd like to have a different type of flower for each book.
I
But
love
we'll
that.
see. I think it'll be fun. But
Fair.
so yeah, I did not do my cover art though.
That's fair. So then, obviously, you made the keychain, right?
Yeah, I made the keychain.
So are you thinking of doing
Oh,
like any?
Lia Draws is the
Ah,
artist on Instagram. Yeah,
yes. Um,
amazing.
are you thinking of doing any like chibi art or anything else to go with your book, or are you just kind of, oh no, did I unlock something?
I have these. I haven't showed them really. I showed them on Instagram Live last night, but it's Moth giving Heather a flower.
It's so cute. I
And
love
I got the
that.
same design as a little acrylic pin. I don't know what I'm doing with these yet. I've got a couple events. We're doing a party, I think, at Joybird Books on the 17th. You're invited. Everyone's invited. Um, and it's nice to have like little goodies with you. So I just kind of keep my eyes on like the sales on Sticker Mule, and I'm like, when can I upload a thing? And
Right. Uh,
wait, the
the
party
amount of
now.
oh yeah. So for anyone who can make it here to Florida, when, where, and uh, the location of this release party.
Yes. So if you're in Orlando, Florida, Joybird Books is the sweetest bookshop ever. It's in Orlando, and the party is going to be from 5 to 6. I'll be doing like a little Q&A and reading with my friend Taylor Simon. She wrote Collateral Damage. She's going to be doing a little interview with me. Um, and then we're going to do like the social signing part of it. I need to ask if I can bring in cake, but if we can, I think I'm going to have a book cake too. So I think I can, but I'm not sure. I want to make sure. I feel like it's kind of to have food in a bookstore is a little stressful because you don't want to have like frosting hands around
Right
all the
around
food
any of the
items.
purchase books.
It's December 17th. And I'm going to be posting about it on Instagram and stuff too. I'll have all the flyers and stuff. Yeah.
Excellent. We love that. So
Stores.
then, kind of got your start doing like web comics, really enjoying the stories, and you did NaNoWriMo.
Hmm.
So have you been doing NaNoWriMo every year or?
I try every year, and I tried this year, and it was foolish because I had our own little underworld edits to turn in, and then I had another thing I needed to do the digital proof read Mothman at like the start of the month. And
Mhm.
then there was something else. I don't know. There was, oh, I'm a maid of honor too in a romance. It's just all these things. I'm like, I can do NaNoWriMo too. I have 8,000 words. So it's not, I don't think it's going to happen for me this year. I don't think I'm going to hit
You're a
50K
little
by the
busy.
end of
It's
the week. But
right.
I've various years, there's like a couple stories, like I'm sure you feel this where you have just the manuscripts that go die in the manuscript graveyard on your.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have a few files that like they're named and they've got up to at maximum 30K words in them, but they are in
Always.
the we're never opening this document ever again.
Do you go and do you read them and do you look at your old drafts sometimes?
Sometimes that and my fan fiction, like my really old fan fiction, I still have access to all of my accounts somehow. I've retained the passwords to all of them. So every once in a while, when I'm feeling bad about my writing now, I'll go back and read my old fan fiction. I'm like, I feel good. I'm good. I'm fine.
The best, I feel like, to and the worst. I did a
Yeah.
reading for my first book, Confidence, on like it was a couple years ago now, and I just started reading it. I was like, what is this? Who wrote
There,
this?
there was a
I,
couple
I,
of stages of experimentation where I was like, what was I doing? What was I doing here?
you're learning. That's what you were doing. You were learning.
And learning what genres I do and never will write in ever again.
Can I ask
Most of
what
which being
genre would you not write in?
historical fiction slash like historical fantasy. The problem is that the bigger the world, like the kingdoms and all of that have to be, the more my brain just starts twitching. Because if I have to figure out how the toilets work in a magic castle, I'm done.
I think that's why I like Katie Roberts.
Mm,
I feel like in all of the Dragon's Bride and the Kraken's Sacrifice, it's like, and there was a bathroom. 10 out of
right.
10. I'm like,
10
good
out
for
of
you.
10. Just, that's the way
Oh
it is.
man, this life is a vibe. Thank you.
Uh, so on the topic of things we won't write, what are some things you've tried and decided like weren't for you, or what are some genres that you like, not hating on the genre, but is just
No,
not for you to
no.
write?
I can't, I don't think I'll ever write straight up like serious sci-fi. I have a space romance manuscript that I'm still querying where it's like little 1950s bubblegum space. It's so cute. It's another YA. And honestly, I have been working on that for like 5+ years. So I'm shocked that like Mothman that I wrote like a year or two now is coming out before that. But that's books, baby. What can you do? Yeah. But
Yeah.
so that that's like serious sci-fi, don't think I could do. I also don't think I'll ever write serious fantasy. Like any like very battle heavy. I feel like getting into battles and like and then there was a sword and that was bad.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem is like with high fantasy, my
Mhm.
brain just starts making this white static noise and I can't vibe with it. So, like,
No.
I,
Dial up sounds.
right. And like as much as I try to like read high fantasy, it just makes my brain go brrr. So like we just
Yeah, no.
it's just not compatible with my brain. But like I give all of the props to people who, and this is talking from the woman who did make myself sit through the Silmarillion. I did read it, suffered through it, but I read it. It's like an instruction manual. It's one of those things that like you once you've read it, you remember everything that happened in it. But my goodness, was it dry? Very little
Yeah.
instruction.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think those are my two big ones though, the like high fantasy and the like very serious sci-fi.
It's fair. Um, so
Oh, sorry, too many
speaking of
people drink.
genres, what do you like to read?
Oh man, I love romance. Whether it's contemporary romance, paranormal romance, sort of anything in between. Like I just my friend Raquel Henry, wonderful writer. She does these really sweet holiday novellas. And so I just put that on my Kindle for the holiday season. Um, but like anything from One Last Stop to Lake's Edge, one of my favorites. Beautiful, like the gothic horror vibes. So I'm very much like a mood reader where I will jump around. I love the Married to Magic series. Um, for monster romance, I very much liked Deceived by Gargoyles. That was really fun. So good. So yeah, I'm kind of all across the board where I will
Mhm.
read pretty much anything. Yeah.
So do you genre hop when you read as much, or do you tend to stick in a genre until like you want to switch it up, like mood reader wise, or how's that go for
Hmm.
you?
That's interesting because I am so excited to read Lake's Edge, like Forest Fall, the sequel to Lake's Edge. I've been waiting for that book and I still haven't started it yet because I know I want like very dedicated reading time and I've been so distracted. So I think for
Mm,
me, there's books that I can kind of like casually consume and then books that I know I'm going to really want to like this is going to become my whole personality when I read it, like that kind of thing. And then there's
fair.
places in between, like right now I'm very much on a monster romance kick, and I think that's just because of Mothman, and I'm
Mm,
loving discovering all these new authors. It's such a fun community. Hauntings and Company was so good. So
absolutely. And I'm always here for more people reading monsters because, as we say, usually in the monster community, humans just aren't good enough. We lack them a little fancier. The weirder the appendages, the better. Uh,
okay, so like a little sidetrack because Mothman, there's some spice, but it is not the sexiest book. There's like a handful of adult scenes, but it's lighter on the spice. Um, I getting into the monster romance like reading, just like binge reading all of the things I could get my hands on. The anxious phone calls I had with my sister leading up to this release. I was like, "Hey, I'm just like feeling really stressed out," and she's like, "Okay, talk to me. What's going on?" Like, he only has one dangle, and do you think that's okay? And she's like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Two seems customary," and she's like, "One is plenty." So she has to deal with like just like these periodic every time I would read something, there would be something and I would be like, hey. So and just like yeah. So what my husband said, he was like, it sounds like Mothman is very much like gonna be people's gateway drugs into the monster romance field because he's got a human form, sometimes he's in his moth form. Um, Not like actual moth. That's a question I keep getting too. People are like, so is he like, is it like the
Little tiny,
Ant-Man? Yeah. No.
big ol' mom,
Yeah. 7 foot tall, giant wings. Come
right? That's
on.
the appeal of Mothman
Um,
is he's a moth man,
but not everyone knows that. Some people think Mothman,
little
like
tiny
he's like
man.
like Cornelius from Thumbelina, but he's not. Um, yeah, so I thought that was really funny that like this is gonna be like, huh, Mothman realm. What else is out there? And then that's just dive
Is
on in.
a whole world he's not in. So with that, and since I know that you've got experience with YA and you've written this adult fantasy, how was it writing spicy scenes, and like where would you say this book lands on your personal scale?
Oh, okay. So for me writing it, I thought that this was very sexy. Um, but then it was good to have friends read it and give me feedback. Like they were like, you have to like at least loosely describe appendages, and I'm like, okay, because I'm more of I think when I'm reading how do I say this without TikTok? Um,
Banana
I'm
rants.
I'm generally speaking, as a reader, I'm less interested in the choreography and more interested in like the really heavy emotions and stuff,
Mm,
even though the choreography is very important. So it was good to have people reading it while I was writing it to help me with that. Like my editor, Bo Lake, she writes werewolf shifter romances and is just generally
Um,
awesome and uh, does very, very well with the spicy scenes. I was so thankful for there's a particular, I think maybe one of the longest scenes in the book. Um, the choreography was all over the place. I wanted to have them like flying and that didn't work. And so I needed like a lot of notes and that was very helpful. So uh they're not they're still off the ground, but you know, in a way that actually made sense because it's a fairly small cabin.
fair.
So I had a lot of fun with I would say locations and the mood. And I to say where it lands, I've definitely read like it is not trying to think of like Hauntings and Company is
Mm,
much higher. So I would say if we're using that as the top,
mm,
and we're using like the love hypothesis, which is kind of more of like a standard rom com, you know.
right.
I would say somewhere in that love hypothesis. So more of a rom com level of spice, but it's still there. Little
Okay.
kick. Like I'm drinking a hot chocolate, and it's like you put a little
Just a little bit of it.
cayenne pepper on top. Yeah.
We like that. And
But the second book
the
is
joke
gonna
is that
have more.
Barbosa does have a werewolf book coming out, which is hilarious. And Barbosa is also an editor.
Yay.
Uh, but so when you're writing, do you have people, every time you write, do you have people kind of like read through it before you continue, or do you kind of just brain splatter it out and then hand it to people?
I think that there are. My husband is so great. I think he's hanging out in the chat, but I definitely did the like. I wrote a scene, and I'm like, is this
Read, please.
does this make sense?
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, does this make sense? And does it do what it's supposed to?
Fair.
And
Okay.
yeah. So, but he's always just an excellent beta reader. Hi. um, he's always just a great beta reader and pretty much will just read anything I write, which is incredible. Just to have that like really sort of fast feedback from someone who like literally lives in your house and you're like, are you reading it? Are you like popping up from a corner being like, what do you think? Is it good? Do you hate it? Is it? I'm very. I think I'm not the most chill when I have people reading my stuff. But
Yeah.
then I have a couple of friends that I can send things to at any point in time and always will let me know how they feel about it, which is really good. So I would say I always have about three different people that I can lean on, which is really nice. And then for the second Mothman book, I finally have a street team in place and I can message all of them and be like, "Hi, do you want to read a draft of the second book? Because I would love your like advice, especially if they enjoyed the first one and want to give me feedback. That's just so valuable." So
Mm,
excited.
I love that. Um, so are you more of like a pantser, a planter, or a plotter?
I would say Planter. So for this one, I had a vibe. I knew I wanted
Mm,
it to be like the spooky girls Hallmark romance. Like
yeah.
I wanted that warm, fuzzy, but like for people who love Halloween and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was generally speaking what I wanted. My like reference emotionally was The Night Before Christmas, if you've seen that on Netflix.
Yeah.
So good. So that was like my sort of like intention going into it. Um, and I had a lot of really vivid scenes that I knew I wanted. So with this one, I blocked it all out with some wiggle room, and that's what I normally do. And then I would go and write everything. And then I have like a draft where I put scenes out of order. So typically when I'm brainstorming something, I have like an outline that's just kind of like
Mm,
a very strange sequence of events. And then I'll have anything I think is going to fit in the book, but I don't know where to put it. I'll put that in a separate document and then it all kind of puzzles together.
okay. Um, so do you have when you're writing, and obviously you've got kind of like a rough outline and like some ideas on the side, what gets the mojo flowing? So do you have like a playlist you have to play? Do you have a like a ritual, snacks? What goes into that?
For it's always different songs and playlists for different books. So for this one, I didn't make my own playlist. I literally went on YouTube and I wrote cottagecore playlists.
Yeah.
Uh, and there's so many that are already curated, wonderful. And I noticed for the spicier stuff, I really liked listening to Black audio. That kind of did it
Mhm.
for me. Uh, yeah, so I said that in a funny way. Anyway, um, so that's what worked for this book, but every book is kind of different. When I was drafting like my space book that isn't out yet, I put out a bunch of pictures like that were like mid-century, kind of did like in like post-it notes, and I had those all sitting by the computer, and that was sort of my like mood board. I
Mhm.
love Pinterest too, to like scroll on Pinterest. So it really depends on what I need in that moment. It's either going to be visuals, or it's going to be music, or a lot of times, like honestly, going for just a walk and just thinking or sitting in the bathtub, that really helps. And just like totally letting your mind just completely wander and thinking through all of or not thinking about it. Honestly, putting on just like a rom-com or going on Wikipedia, I was reading the plots of Christmas movies and just looking and studying the beats, and that was really fun for me.
I like that. Um, so when you're writing, because I am an ADHD squirrel, when I'm writing, if there are any distractions, I will shiny rock my ass out of a writing mojo and disappear into the woods. What are some things that you can and can't have when you're writing?
Oh gosh, ah, my husband's in the chat. If you want to pipe in, I am all ears for what I do. I get very like focused. I feel like I have like these days where it's like the binge writing days where I am like
Mhm.
up to like 3 in the morning and I just can't stop.
Stop.
Um, and in those moments, it's like you have to keep going.
Right.
Um, what I sometimes I can't have music on. Sometimes I can. It really just depends on like how finicky I'm feeling in that moment. I
Mhm.
will turn off my internet sometimes and just have everything on airplane mode because
Right.
sometimes I'll let go and I'll put my phone in a drawer. So if I'm really having a hard time keeping focus, I'll try to eliminate as many distractions as possible because I know that it's getting on like being like, oh, I just have to do a couple of things before I start writing is such a trap.
Right. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna check once, and then all of a sudden it's out the window. Everything's
Hmm.
gone.
Yeah,
I feel that.
yeah.
Um, so what kind of gets you out of a writing slump, or like, do you ever face writing blocks?
I definitely. Let's see. I think it's the cliche things like you know, going for a walk or like taking a bath and like that sort of stuff really helps me. But beyond that, talking through whatever the problem is with somebody else, because even if they don't offer the solution that's right, explaining the problem out loud or talking through your story out loud, I feel like helps a lot of things click into place. So uh, that's a big one for me. But I feel like it can be hard because you're in like this vulnerable space where you're overthinking your story and then you have to like
Mhm.
open up to somebody. Um, so it's nice to have like those close writer friends. Or my husband has heard me rant so much about all
Yeah.
sorts of different character stuff, So it's nice to have people that you trust in your life that you can be like, I don't understand why this element isn't working, and get those suggestions really helps a lot of times.
I love that. Um, And so clearly you have, a pretty close circle of like family, friends who read. Would you say um, that most of your like support group is ready for all of your books, or do you have like some people that are really only here for your monster romance and some that are here for your YA?
That's something that I think I'm about to discover. Uh,
Okay.
because that's such a tricky thing I've been trying to figure out whether with my YA, especially with more of like the sunshine bubblegum YA, like the stuff that skews a little younger, if I want to do a pen name, if
Mhm.
like I want to split the branding at all. Um, right now, it seems like a lot of the vibes kind of flow into each other pretty well. But it's something that I'm definitely I think gonna see as books start to come out if I need to like at the very least split my mailing list. That's the advice I've been getting. Like if you don't want to write under a pen name, consider having two different mailing lists. So I might
Fair.
implement that in the new year. We shall see. So far everyone has been really uh supportive with anything. My my grandma, my sweet, sweet 89-year-old grandma, uh, is she 89? Oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah, she's turning 90 next year. Um, she is like, I can't wait for the book. And it's the first time that she will read anything that has spicy scenes written by her granddaughter. So that's
It's always that's
funny
the
feeling, but
first time
she
they do that is always the worst, especially like the more pure your grandparents are. Uh,
she's
my one
the sweetest woman in the world.
my one grandmother on like my father's side. Oh yeah, no, I've seen this woman rip through some like pearl clutching, like bodice shredding romance books. I'm like, oh yeah, no, she's gonna have no problem with my books. My other grandmother, however, um, she she's faint of heart, and so I was like, I don't know if my other grandma should read any of my stuff, but
Yeah.
she's supportive. She's here for it.
That's all you can ask for. I'm gonna just give her a sweet little disclaimer of being like, Grandma, I just want to let you know these chapters,
Things happen.
yeah, and that's, and I'm sure it will be fine, but it's going to be a funny conversation.
Yeah, we love that. Um,
Yeah.
so then, what would you say, since you're probably not going to do a pen name, what would you say your branding is overall, including both YA and like adult fantasy fiction?
It is, I think my little tagline on my website right now is like stories about monsters, misfits, and falling in love. So it's sort of those like uh, stories about outsiders, people who don't feel like they quite fit in, finding themselves, finding their communities, and sometimes smooching a monster, depending on the content of the book.
Okay, fair,
Yeah.
fair. We love that. So if a reader has just started like reading some of your books or is interested in reading some of your books, what are some things you would hope are or that are associated with your name? Like what should they like adjective wise associate with you?
Hmm. I hope a cozy feeling. I hope like a cozy sort of autumn feeling. Um, I hope I got the nicest comment once from someone at a convention around my webcomics, and I feel like this. I hope this feeling has remained true through the years, but someone said that they would go and they would revisit my webcomic and read it because it felt like hanging out with a bunch of friends. And I thought that was just like the kindest thing. So I hope that when people read my books, they can sort of summon that feeling as well. Um, with I'm in Love with Mothman in particular, it was nice in a couple of the reviews that I was shown, seeing that they're like people feel represented and seen. So I
Mhm.
wrote Heather. She is a bisexual with a chronic illness who can't tolerate gluten. And so she has Hashimoto's like me. And whenever I first got diagnosed with this, I remember thinking, like, just feeling really sort of, I mean, a little scared, even though I knew it was very common and not gonna like super negatively impact me. I'm like, oh, I have to take this medication forever and I have to change my diet and I have to do all these things. And I feel kind of alone in this. And I really wanted to
Mhm.
create a character in a book that didn't center around like her receiving this news and it just to be like a part of her identity already. Um, yeah, so she takes thyroid medicine and avoids gluten through the book, and has achy joints after she drinks some wine because ow.
Fair,
Yeah.
fair.
So yeah, just like and I had a review where someone was like, "There's a chronically ill queer protagonist, awesome," and like that made me feel so good that they saw some of themselves in Heather, and that's all I can hope for.
I love that. Speaking of things that readers say that can make an author cry, because it's so nice. What is something like if a reader were to tell you right now would like make your heart soar or make your day?
Oh my gosh. I think just anyone saying that they read the book and enjoyed it right now, that is just like, I'm over the moon. Uh, any sort of like, wow, I loved this, or I was really looking forward to this book and it met my expectations. I'm always, and this is something I'm trying to work on, but I'm always very worried about disappointing people.
Yeah.
So just to hear like, oh my gosh, I was excited about this and I enjoyed it. I'm like, oh, I did it. Like,
I met your expectations.
yeah. Which I mean, yeah, probably need to do some self-reflecting and not worrying about that. But yeah, anytime anyone just uh, any sort of like compliment or excitement is just like I'm over the moon right now. Like uh a simple message like I pre-ordered your book or I can't wait for it to arrive is just like I'm on cloud nine. I'm bouncing around the house. I'm feeling uh amazing. I will also say it's funny how like goals and stuff change in the age of the internet. If anyone ever cosplayed Heather, would lose my mind. Like same with Moth. Like if anyone like like
And then I found them and they're like, I'm playing Moth from I'm in love with the Mothman. I'm deceased. I'm
yeah,
out.
I would cry. I would absolutely cry. Um, yeah, so that's like, I think that's like the, I will feel like, whoa, oh my gosh.
Like a true author.
Yeah. Someone did
Uh,
fan art on the day of the cover reveal. They were like, oh, I love this vibe. And they drew the characters and they tagged me in it. And they're like, I can't wait for it to come out. And that felt like, amazing and also like that feeling of like I hope I don't disappoint you because this is the most
right.
incredible gift you could have given me on my cover reveal day.
The the absolute stress, like because they're always like, hey, you should pitch your book prior to it going out so that people will like pre-order your book and want to know about your book. And I'm like, but what if it's not like what they were expecting? What if like everything
Yeah.
else, like you don't like it if you like this, and they're like, it was nothing like that.
I know
Nightmare.
I my comparisons have been like a Schitt's Creek and What We Do in the Shadows and I still am like is that right? Do you get that when you read this? Like
Right? Are they adequate comparisons? If people compare them, will they be mad? Like, that's kind of
subtitles
the
are
hard thing
horrifying.
about comp titles,
Yeah, it's
right?
horrifying.
Uh, and also like sometimes when I'm like, hey, it has this trope in it, I'm like, yes, it has the trope in it, but like I put my own spin on it, so like, are you gonna like it if I keep doing it? Like,
I
uh,
was worried that he shapeshifts. I was like, what if people are upset that he's not a monster the whole time?
I'm over here with the opposite, be like, he's literally an 8 foot tall dragon with spikes. I'm really concerned. People are gonna like, he didn't shift into a human. No, he's dragon the whole time, like full scales and all. He's cute though, and they're like, no, that's way too far. Aw, thank you. I'm so excited. Bitter Rain is Kahula's contemporary romance. She included a disabled queer, and all of her books are polyamorous. So
Nice.
that one was, mm, it's a good book. It hurts. So
Mm,
be aware, if you ever read it, I'm warning you now, it stings a little.
okay.
I cried mostly through this book because it's really relatable.
Mm,
But kind of back on the author goal. So obviously one of mine and obviously yours as well. One of my author goals is to have someone cosplay one of my characters. I would perish. But some of my other author goals is to obviously hit one of the bestseller lists on one book. Not asking for all of them, just one. Right? Fingers crossed. But what are some other like either milestones or goals that you're looking forward to?
I would love to do to be featured in a book box one day. I think that would be amazing. I and I know it will happen with this series, but I can't wait to have a completed series. I've been such a standalone author, and so I never really thought I'd do a book series. And then this has been really fun, and I really like it. I can't wait to have like enough books out to fill a shelf. Like just like I've got so many ideas, and I just really can't wait till I can be like, look at all of these. Um, but it man, it takes a while to write them. What is up with that? Like,
Bruh.
yeah,
It's so long. Uh, and you're like, oh yeah, and like the writing part, it feels like it takes forever. Then you're like, oh yeah, it can go. Nope, it can't go straight to the shelf.
because
Gotta
you're
edit
gonna
it,
edit it.
format it, and then I gotta market this book somehow. No, just want it out. Just put it out.
Yeah. Oh, marketing. It's
Uh,
hard.
Speaking of marketing, what are some socials that readers, if they don't follow you already, where can they follow you now?
I have the same username on everything. So I am on Twitter. Who knows what's going on there?
Right.
I'm pretty active on Instagram. I would say that's probably my most active place. And then I try really hard on TikTok, but I'll go really ham on TikTok and then be gone for like 2 weeks and then come back and be like,
Yep.
oh, here's a bunch of videos. I really have been trying to do the bulk content filming thing. Like anytime it's like, oh, I got makeup on today, I better make some TikTok videos.
Yes.
Although the filters not bad. Not that you need to do videos wearing makeup, but like it sometimes it gives you a little extra pep.
Oh yeah,
But yeah,
and yeah, there's always that when you're wearing makeup, there's the immediate I have to make a TikTok wearing this makeup. I did not
yeah.
put this all over my face not to make a TikTok.
Oh my gosh, last night I had a full face on because it's release week. So I'm like, I will film readings. I will film a couple of other things. And I tried magnetic eyelashes for the first time.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh, they're terrible. I bought them for my sister's wedding and I'm really glad that I tried them in advance because I don't know if it was just all the face expressions I was pulling and like I they were like flying off my eyes and I followed the directions. I also just don't know how I feel about putting magnets that close to my eyeballs.
Right. There's something in it that's like, oh, they're not that powerful. It's like, ah, but it's still a magnet.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Anyway, yes. So my social medias, to answer your question, are Mrs. Paige Lavoie on pretty much all the platforms.
Excellent. And do you have like an official website or like a author
Yeah,
page?
it's pagelavoie.com. That's it. Yeah.
Ex-
I would love to just be Paige Lavoie or author Paige Lavoie everywhere, but it's either too long. Not that I I feel like Mrs. Paige Lavoie. Sometimes I'm like, it seems like I'm gonna be making content of like June Cleaver esque, like here's how to properly fold your laundry, and instead I'm like, hi, do you want a book about kissing Mothman? Surprise. Um,
Surprise!
um, yes. So yeah, it's pagelavoie.com and then it's Mrs. Paige Lavoie and everything else.
I like that. Um, So then, is there anything that you want readers, like obviously Mothman is the main focus, but is there anything else you want readers to really look into or read or pick up?
I mean, right now Mothman is, I think it's the only one available unless you're doing like a used bookshop because um A Girl Called Monster is getting republished next year, I think.
Fingers
And
crossed.
that's my like Frankenstein book. And then Around Little Underworld is the spring, and Confidence I think is going to get like a little bit of a makeover because it's an old book. I didn't love the cover, so I think there's like Abe books, I think, and thrift books still have some copies. But I would
Mhm.
say go for the Mothman. That's what you want. That's what I mean.
That's what everyone
And
needs right now.
it's honestly it's my favorite thing I think I've ever written. So I'm really excited that it's coming out on Thursday. And I think especially it being this like fun holiday season, why not pick up a cozy monster romance?
Right?
That's my
Uh,
sales voice.
it's a cozy monster romance, and you need it for the season, because it's already stressful enough. Why not get a cozy book?
Why would you not want Mothman under your tree Christmas morning?
We like it. Um, so speaking specifically about I'm in love with a Mothman, what inspired the title?
Oh my gosh. I think it was just called the Mothman thing, like on my draft. And
Yep.
um, what was I just wrote down I'm in love with Mothman and I went, that's it. That's the book title. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to be sneaky about it and be like, oh, what? Mothman's in this? Like, and how I wanted to pitch it. Cause I got some advice of, like, oh, if you're querying this, maybe market it more towards like he's a shifter, he's dark and mysterious. And then as you read the book, you find out he's Mothman. And then I don't know, my gut just told me like I think I should just go full force. I think this is a fun silly little title. She is in love with Mothman. There's a line in here that says like I'm in love with Mothman and I think he loves me too or something like that. And so I'm like let's do the thing again. Let's have the book title in the
I love that.
but the next book is going to be I'm engaged to Mothman. So it's and maybe
So
they'll get married. I don't
I was gonna
know.
say, is book three like is this
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
be
a
a
trilogy, or right now we're working
Mothman.
with a duology?
No, it's a trilogy. So yeah, I mean, there might be some wedding bells in book three. I had a visual of Mothman under the tree just staring up at the lights. I need to,
Whole
I need to
cat,
bust out
like
my
big old
chibi art
eyeballs.
and just, yeah, I gotta draw that. I'm also very sad that the Squishmallows, they got delayed because I ordered two and I was gonna do one for a Christmas giveaway, but they're like very back ordered. Bo Lake is here. That's my editor. Bo, I was giving you like big shout outs earlier.
I've been summoned. Uh, obviously we kind of got inspired by Burnout. We've got a character who's kind of coming into herself. But what about Mothman? What's up with
What
him?
about
Where's he
Mothman?
coming from? What's his vibe?
Yeah, so I can't, there's bits I can't tell you because it will give away a little bit of a twist on the character that I don't want to spoil, but I will say very similar to Heather in a way that you wouldn't expect. He uh, has run away from the place that he's most famous in. So the book doesn't take place in Point Pleasant. And I really had like a debate on that of like, uh, do I want to do it where Mothman is most known? And I'm like, no, I think I want both of these characters to go further in the woods than where like rumors about them would have been. So she's left her home, he has left where he's been the most seen, and they're in like nondescript Ohio together. Which I
I
actually
love
looked at cabins when I was trying to place this. I went on Zillow and I was like, okay, like what's out there? What can I get? So I really
right.
wanted to like have this like placed in like a rural town. So he has been like alone and lonely for a long time, just kind of lurking in the shadows. And I think there are bits of him where, because he's been around for a long time. What is it like if they get to be like over 100, then it's not weird. He's been around for a while, yeah. And so he's like kind of become a bit of like a protector of the forest. Like he loves the animals. There's a moment when they're walking around together and there's a squirrel kind of just like Disney princessing up onto his shoulder. Um, it's a place that he's very protective of. And once she's there, he becomes kind of protective of her too. She becomes like a part of his woods, his forest. And I would love to tell you more about why he's there and how he got there, but I just like, you gotta read the book. You gotta.
Spoilers. Got it.
It's big spoilers, yeah. But I loved writing him. He was very fun because I love a soft twist on the brooding hero. So there are just these moments like he's very prickly, but there's these moments where he's just also very just soft and tender to her.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of like that anime character dynamic
Mhm.
where because in the book, this isn't a spoiler, it's on the back cover. He gets wounded, lands on her roof, and she drags him into her house to nurse him back to health. And while he's kind of out of it, he like lashes out and sort of accidentally scratches her. And her response is, "Oh my God, can you chill?" Like, so it's just kind of that, like, it's a grumpy sunshine dynamic, but she's also not taking his garbage. Like, he's
Right.
waking up and being cranky, and she's like, "What's going on? Do you need some soup? Like, what do we like?" He's all disoriented, and she's like, "Oh, are you not comfortable? Do you need like pillows, soup? What do we have?" And he's like, "Are you not bothered?" He's just like, it's fun. They're
I'm a
fun. I
mom.
like them.
I'm a big old monster. Not
Big
even
old
a
monster
flame.
in your house. Do you not care? And she's like, "Oh, trying to do a good. Did I set your wing too tight?" Like,
I'm trying to be nice to you, and you're being all grumpy. It's not helping. Like,
yeah.
what part of monster are you not getting, lady? We love
Yeah.
that.
Big old sweetie.
Um, so obviously, Grumpy Sunshine is there with your own little twist or flavor on it. What other tropes or like, you can also use like fanfic tags if you like, because those ones are very fun.
I'm trying
Do
to
you
remember.
associate with your book?
I had made a whole little video where I screenshot a bunch of tags. Oh no, he's hot is one of my favorites. Um, what is the other one? Like a fluffy piece of fic I wrote for myself. Grumpy Sunshine. And there's Mothman was another tag. Um, Beauty and the Beast. It's a little bit of like a loose. This wasn't intentional. But after I had written half of it, I'm like, oh, this has got Beauty and the Beast vibes.
Mm,
That's fun. Where the antagonist, he's a little bit like Gaston meets Ronaldo from Steven Universe. So
right.
that was a fun little to put together. Our monster hunter, Chris. Oh, Chris.
You
Um,
love that.
yeah, so Beauty and the Beast kinda would be a tag. Um, hmm. There's like a very, very mild vintage aesthetic. I feel like she leans into that sort of like Gen Z 60s look. And I
Mhm.
love that so much.
Chris angry face. Would they feel better if I bit them? We like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so with these characters that you have, is anyone in the book inspired by real life? I know some authors are very anti. I don't want anyone from my life being the same name in my book, and some authors are like, no, Ted who cut me off in traffic, he's the antagonist of my newest book. Like, where are you
I
on the
feel
spectrum?
so bad. I know someone named Chris, and I did not mean to make angry face Chris. And I was like, should I change this? And I got the go ahead to just, it's a very common name.
It's a regular name.
Yeah. So, but that wasn't, not intentional. Yeah, all of the names are not of anyone I know. Heather accidentally is very much like me. besides just like the chronically ill bisexualness of her drinking all her oat milk lattes and whatnot. Um,
Right.
yeah, she personality wise, I never realize it until it's done, but my friend Taylor was reading it and was like, "Wow, this is the most like I am so protective of this protagonist in a way like I never have been, and it's probably because she's basically you." And I went, "What?
Yep.
No." Because I tried really
Yeah.
hard to make her like Alexis from Schitt's Creek meets kind of like Sailor Jupiter. I did
Right.
think a lot about my friend Megan while I was writing her. She also has Hashimoto's, so yeah, thyroid illness gang. Um, and she is such a cool, motivated person where if you need to put up a shelf, she's just gonna be like, yeah, I'll put up that shelf. Like she just is not afraid to get into a DIY project or to like climb up something. Like she's very like she just does the thing, and in millennial speak, and I think it's really admirable. And so I have the scene where Heather is patching up her broken roof, and I'm like Megan would. Megan would just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I have a tarp and some big rocks and a whole lot of confidence, and let's do this.
Right. I'll
And
figure it out.
yeah,
It'll be fine.
unintentional self insert. Can I ask you the same question? Do you have
Yeah.
anyone that was an unintentional or intentional self insert?
So the funniest part is that Ophelia is absolutely the closest to me as a person. Mostly because when I was writing her, and because I'm a full pantser, I fly by the seat of my pants. We don't know what's happening until it happens. I get to the part where, like, originally I was just gonna have her mother be like slightly toxic and just kind of in the
Mm-hmm.
background and just be an annoying bee. And then we get to the farmers market like festival thing, and the whole chase scene kind of happens, and I went, oh no, she's actually my mother. Ophelia.
No.
It Ophelia took on a lot of me, and like the main part of the I'm not enough, like that scene is almost like word for word something that I cried to my best friend very drunkenly at 21. So Ophelia is the closest like self-insert to myself. The only thing I would say that Ophelia has that maybe I don't is that I absolutely gifted that woman with far more patience than I do.
She was
Because
very patient.
she's
Yes.
very patient. And there
Wow.
are some times when in my life I'm like, you know what? I'm old enough. I don't need to be this patient anymore. No, I don't need this.
Yeah, it's not always a virtue.
Right? It's like
Yeah.
my time and effort is not, no, you're wasting it. I'm out of here.
Hmm.
But I would say Ophelia is probably, and that's probably why Hauntings is like my heart and soul, because they were, uh, Ophelia is very close to who I am as a person. A lot of my other characters I get to explore things that I want to be, or like I would love to see in myself, or like little pieces of me here and there. But Ophelia was pretty close to me.
I loved Ophelia, so that must be why I'm having such a great time chatting with you because what a sweet little cupcake. Like in her wardrobe, ah,
Oh
you made
yeah,
me want to
and
go
when
shopping. All of those dresses, how dare you?
I spent an ungodly amount of time googling dresses for inspiration. I may have gotten full on ADHD sidetracked. And when the artist Kate Nick was like, "So what's her vibe?" I was like, "Oh, do I have a Pinterest board for you?" Because I sent her just hundreds of outfits. She was like, "It's gonna be from like the collarbone up." I was like, "That's fine, but this is her vibe." It's the pinup office professional, like cutesy style, uh, pinks and florals. Uh, it was always really fun. So, kind of speaking of clothing, obviously we discussed that she's in the Selkie dress on the cover.
Mhm.
What are some of like other of your like most favorite outfits or like designs throughout the book?
I have her have this moment again. I'm gonna have mild spoilers for the beginning. Um, there's this moment where she climbs a tree because why not? You're in the forest. You want to have like an outdoorsy moment. and she decides to wear like these brown ankle boots with this flowing skirt and like an olive green top and have her hair like tied in like one of those like cute like scarves. And it is so impractical. And I love that when she puts it on, she's like, I am so ready for this.
I'm an outdoorsy woman.
Yeah, and it's so cute. I think let's see, what else do I have her in? I have her in irregular choice shoes, like light up sneakers. Um, and she's like, these were really cute and fun back home in Orlando, but I think here they might just be weird. Um,
Running through the
yeah.
forest. You can absolutely see me the entire way through the forest.
Light up sneakers. Yep.
Fair. To be fair though, I would absolutely perish for a pair of light up sneakers that fit my big people feet. I would love that.
They make them. Yeah. They're
But
really
I
expensive, but
also
they make
I
them.
keep telling myself $60 for a pair of sneakers that light up, probably not practical. But there's a part of me that's like, I'm an adult. It's Christmas. If I'm gonna buy myself light up sneakers, I can.
Yeah. You could. It's true.
Um,
I
so
think those are my favorites though.
the little moments of absolute freedom in your book. So, what are some things that you got to live throughout Heather in this book that maybe you haven't experienced in life, or something you would like to experience?
Hmm. I do. I really like, because I live in Florida. We talked about this. And I love it here. I hate the weather. And so I think like just the idea of escaping into that like cool mountain weather with foliage and everything was something I lived visually through her the entire time I was writing. I was thinking about like crunchy leaves and that there's such a particular fall smell. I'm from Michigan, and that was my favorite season. It still is every time I visit, like going up to the cider mill and everything like that. Um, and that feeling, I just like soaked it up the entire time I was writing. Let me think of funny things or experiences. I haven't sat in a field and made a flower crown in years. And there's a scene that happens, and I very much just like really enjoyed like soaking in that moment while I was writing that. Um, I love going to diners. There is a moment where she might drag a 7 foot tall moth creature into a tin can diner. And that was just so fun. I kind of have this thing where every book I write, I see if there's a way to get them into a diner, it happens. Um,
Yes,
and this
yes,
is
we
just
like
so
it.
I can write some like smash them all together one day in the future and like a piece of art or something. But yeah, there were a lot of the thing that I think I liked the most was like all of these little tiny cozy moments that I felt like I really needed in that moment and really provided me with like a lot of comfort. Um, so those were like the special things. She also went over a new friend's house, and it was like this very like shabby chic farm sort of setting. They did like there's a gardening scene. So like these she goes to like see her, try to live her best cottagecore life, and it doesn't happen the way she expects it, but she does have those moments where she's like baking fresh cookies and she burns them. They all burn, but she does it. And you okay, buddy? Sorry, gotta
No, you're
calm
fine.
down next to me. You are panting a lot. Are you good? Are you good,
Oh
Miss
yeah.
Lavoie?
The chat is saying absolutely we should do get fan art. We all deserve a group date night of everyone at the diner,
I would
like
love
one of
that.
those old diner paintings of people in the booths.
I hadn't even thought about it like that, like the old art where it's everybody
I'm just
that
saying, everyone
when
who
all the
ends up in a
books are
diner ends
out.
up in this painting.
I want that. I want that so bad. That is like in a couple years a present to myself. When all the books are out, I'll be like,
Yes, just get it like up on your wall. Absolutely,
not
moth
eating
eating
waffles.
waffle.
Yeah, waffles are consumed. Mothman
I love that.
drinking syrup from the jug. Might
I
happen.
can't wait to get to this part. I absolutely can't wait. Um, so as also a Florida girly, I miss seasons. I miss seeing trees change and
Yeah.
leaves falling.
Hmm.
I miss not having hurricanes.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like Michigan at least. I don't know where you lived before Florida, if you're from Florida. Um, Tornadoes scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, and like, ugh. So I mean, but then you can get them during the hurricane, so it's like you just can't win.
Right, you're either close enough to get hurricanes or far enough to get tornadoes. You can't really win.
No.
Um, in the morning, I'm making waffles. Um,
I
I love lamp.
love lamp.
Uh, what uh what are some side characters that we get to meet in this book, especially like who are you most excited for people to meet?
Okay, so we have Chris, the side character, who I honestly kind of love him. Like, he's in the worst way. And then we have my mind just completely blank. Rosie and Clara, they're a sweet couple. Rosie owns the general store, and her wife Clara is has like a farm. And they both kind of tend both of them together, and like the produce from the farm goes to the general store and the grocery section. They're so sweet. They're so like loving and supportive. Heather comments about how they seem like newlyweds, even though they've been married for like 5 years, and they very much like welcome her into town with open arms and homemade gluten-free cookies and just
Yeah.
yes. What else can you ask for? But they're just like really they're the people she's been lamenting over not having like a real feeling community, and she finally finds them in these two characters. I'm kind of excited for people to meet Heather's mom and just kind of
Oh,
how that all that plays out. And that's it's a very minimal cast book, so you really only have uh, Heather, Mothman, Rosie, Clara, and Chris, and that's pretty much it. And the realtor who sells the house, and the mom. That's it. You get a scene where you see some of the other monster hunting buddies, but that's so it's a small cast, which made it really manageable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not me currently writing a polyamorous relationship and being like, oh boy, it's so many cast members. Um,
Yeah. Oh my, it's hard to keep track. Oh, Heather's mom is my favorite character because she is a lot. She is so much. I'm glad to hear she's your favorite. That makes me happy.
and that's what always comes across like when you get to a good book is that the side character that's clearly either like an antagonist or a kind of like the antithesis of the story. If there's people are like, I still loved Heather. Heather's a problem, but she's my favorite. Then you're like, you know, the book is written well because you love even the bad guys, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think um uh enjoy Heather's mom in an interesting way because like there's growth there. Like that was an important thing to me. Not and again, this doesn't really spoil it, but their relationship goes through a change and it's they're better for it. And I think I can say that without spoiling anything. And yeah. It's funny
So
when we do book talks and I'm just like, what? Because I know some people who are like, don't tell me anything. I want to go in blind. You're like, okay, you just read it and I want to know what happens as I'm going through it. And then other people are like, tell me every little detail and it's not going to ruin the story for me. So
that always
I
throws
guess,
me for a loop.
yeah, but I guess we're talking about books, so it's okay for me to talk about the book.
Oh, of course. And like, there's always that. Is it giving away too much, or like it always surprises me when like I'm like, oh yeah, this is the line that's gonna get everyone, and then it's something completely different. And
Yeah.
people are like, this is the line that got me. This is the line that this is what you need to pitch to people. It's like, you picked that one? Okay.
It's interesting. Yeah.
So what is a part of this book that you're really excited for people to experience?
Mm. Oh, I'm torn. I think there I really like the first sort of like I care about you moment, like that. Um, that happens sort of midway, eh, probably earlier than midway. We're gonna find out together as a team, as a group. A little less than halfway through. I love that moment, but I also like the moment where she realizes that her forest monster is actually Mothman. Because that's not, she just is like, oh, some kind of something. Some, like, this
Right.
is like winged man, demon creature guy. Um, she doesn't really know. And then when she finds that out, that was a scene that to me, every time I think about it, is very cinematic. And I'm excited for people to get to that point and be able to see it.
Ah. So then that confirms that she doesn't truly know anything about Mothman, and yet he falls on her roof.
Hmm.
Like it.
Sometimes love just happens.
And sometimes it falls on your roof.
Yeah.
Cute, warm dresses for squishy people. The Actually, Unique Vintage
Yeah.
is a shop that I really adore because they have a lot of everything in the best kind of way. I also I tend to look to Pinterest for ideas, and then a lot of times they like pin who has what part from the
Yeah.
outfit, and I just follow it to the people. Yes, love finds a way. Uh, so where do we start in I'm in Love with Mothman? Do we start while she's in the cabin, or do we start before we get to the cabin?
We start in Heather's Orlando apartment. So she is getting off of a live stream, feeling really overwhelmed. And we kind of get the moments of her breaking down and deciding to make this decision. I thought about starting much earlier than that, but with the pacing, it really just worked to have that one chapter of decision making, seeing like the stress of her life, and then going right into her driving to the cabin. Like I had scenes where she was like going to an influencer event and like all sorts of stuff, and I just cut all of it.
Fair.
Um, and yeah, so we start out in like a cute, chic influencer apartment, and we end up in a little cozy cabin.
I love that. Uh, so what would you say is like the general arc without obviously spoiling the book? So obviously we start, we're stressed out, we're burnt out, we're gonna go get a cabin in the woods. And where do we kind of end without like giving too much away? Obviously we know
I
we're
think
together.
yes, yeah. So they end up. It's a happy for now, I guess, is what you call it because it's a series.
Mhm.
Um, it's gonna be a happily ever after, everybody. I'm just letting you know. Like it remains cute. Um, let's see. So we start off with this burnt out feeling, and I think this pressure to make all this stuff that she is. It's just very disingenuous content, and the arc where she ends up is sort of, I think, exactly where you would hope of. At least I hope that that's exactly what you would want is going on that journey to realize that you can just create for yourself, and whether you post it online or you don't, that's your decision, and you can make things for fun. You can have private moments, or you can share and curate things that you are passionate about. Even if the audience is more niche, even if like you're uh it's not like as commercial or everyone loves it, like, so she kind of starts to dabble into her like photography and uh more of like the artsy side that she first fell in love with, and starts to explore that a little bit more.
Ah. Um, so would you say the romance in this book, because obviously we get to a happy for now. Is
Mhm.
it more of a slow burn, medium burn? We're talking like fast and we're in the sheets in like two chapters. Where are we looking?
It's more of a slow burn. I think. Uh, how would you define medium burn? That's an interesting. I haven't heard that before.
So I usually define like slow burn where we don't start to see true romance until after 60%. Medium burn, you're probably looking at we're starting to get romancy and flirty about 40%, and fast burn, you're looking at like 15 to 20%.
Okay, let's see. We are getting romantic tension about here,
Ooh.
and then way more romantic tension here. A lot, a lot of romantic tension here. Oop, oop, oop. They smooching. They're smooching about here. So halfway through, they're
Excellent.
smooching.
So I
And
would say it's probably you're more of a medium burn then,
I
because
think it's slow to medium. We've got it on simmer, and it's just starting to boil, like, in a timely fashion.
we love
Um,
that.
yes, because I will say the first spice is
There.
about here. Yes.
Fair.
But they've smooched before then, so
Fair.
medium. Okay, the editor says medium, so thank you, Bo.
I would absolutely agree with medium because as much as I love slow burn, like at the same time, it makes my eye twitch because like I watch a lot of K dramas as well, and
Hmm.
I can't tell you how much it's like just we're episode 10, just hold her hand, just stop with the hand flinching and just grab her hand. Just grab
Yes.
it.
Oh my gosh. No, but before we grab hands, we need to do a 5 minute flashback of what happened 10 minutes ago with like really
Precisely.
dramatic music and a little bit of like some sparkles. Is there
Yes.
smooches in the moth form? There are smooches in the moth form. And if you're curious about how that would work, I really had to think about it. And yeah, I describe it. Yeah.
So
I would say
Debbie, how now?
carefully. So in his moth form, it's a beak. And I would say there's two ways you could go with that is either a little or like an ice cream cone. So
Full beak
yeah.
on face. It works. We love that. Because there have been some iterations of Mothman with like a little like hummingbird thing where he like unravels and comes out.
Oh,
Um,
that's interesting.
and then some people have him with like sharp thingy things. But I think that's more on like the
Hmm.
horror side.
Yeah, he has fangs. Like he's got a row of fangs just chilling.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah, we love that full
I know.
beak.
I feel like I'm like, oh, what is that movie? Sleepy Hollow, where Christopher Walken is the headless horseman, must have influenced me with the spiky teeth.
I love Batman. I love that movie. Um, Speaking of influences, what are some kind of monster design choices you decided? Because the best thing about Monster Romance is you get to like shop for appendages. So, what does Mothman look like? It because obviously we've got the cover, but it's kind of
Yeah.
shadowy, kind of not.
Mhm. So I can. Do you want me to tell you like in book form?
Oh
I
yeah,
can read his description.
I'm
Would
down.
you like moth creature description or would you like shifted description?
Let's start with Moth Creature.
Okay, let's go. Do, 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 do. I gotta find it. It's somewhere in this book. Okay. There's no scene. Okay, so she does think that this is a costume, and she realizes that it's not. Uh, there are no seams to this midnight black costume of feather and bone, and the face, When I stare into the globe-round eyes, bile rises in my throat in place of a scream. Its strange features are a cross between an owl's and an insect's, with a beak-shaped mouth that twists downwards and a body that feels the same as if a man held me in his arms. The impossible creature blinks, turning its attention to me. There's unsaid tension in this moment, as if the strange thing before me can sense every ounce of fear, and with each moment I stare into those red, blinking eyes, I can feel the light drain from my very soul. So that's the moth. That's the moth description.
I love that. And for giggles, was he look like shifted?
Okay, a cute anime boy, honestly. That was my influence.
Does he like spin and is there like instrumental music and he like
Yeah, it's the Sailor
flashes?
Moon theme song. Uh, okay, they're goofing. Okay, chapter 9. The winged creature in my house has always been hot. I mean, hello. He's been burning up ever since I dragged him inside. But as far as I know, becoming incredibly good looking isn't a side effect of a fever. The monster in front of me has transformed into someone who looks mostly human. His face is as pale as the moon with gold flecks across his forehead. The same iridescent gold freckles up his the same iridescent gold freckles across his arms and his elbows as if he dipped them both in paint. The fluffy moth-like antennae are the same, only now they stick out like two feathers from a mass of dark curls. So he's a hot anime boy. He's got giant wings and antenna and red eyes and curly hair.
So when he's shifted, he's not even fully human though. So he's like
He can't get fully human. So even when they sneak into the diner, he's wearing like a poncho thing that's hiding his wings. They're like tucked in the back. Um,
he said,
like,
I'm gonna
oh,
wear a disguise, puts on fake mustache. It's fine. It's
I'm
close
off.
enough, right?
He got like tinted sunglasses. Yeah,
Right.
but yeah. So he can't go full human. He's always got the little fluffies.
We love that. Uh so I guess the the question is that with him looking like anime boy and then him also looking in his monstrous form, how does Heather kind of learn to not only deal but kind of explore this world with him and how he is?
So she is reflecting a lot on just sort of seeing him in that form and now falling in love with him, and she becomes curious, I would say, fairly quick as her feelings for him develop into just
Mhm.
like, what would that be like? um and I she is more excited about that idea than he is at first. He's a little bit more, the like, I don't want to frighten you kind of thing. um do they get there? Yes.
I love
But
that.
I think just curiosity, right? If you're falling in love with someone and you knew that they could shapeshift, you'd probably think about it
Just a little bit.
a bit.
Um, so we kind of mentioned there is one spicy scene where they're like not exactly on the ground.
Hmm.
For my absolute curiosity, does he take her flying at any point?
Does he? They do go flying. They do. Yes. I don't want to get into the details there, but
Right.
flying happens. Yeah. His wings are broken for most of the book. Um, Not most of the book, I guess. In For most of the relationship developing, though, he has a broken wing.
Oh, okay. So then the setup is kind of he has a broken wing. She's nursing him back in his cabin, and he can't really leave
Hmm.
while he's getting fixed up.
Yeah. Which sounds a lot like
Let's do
misery, but I promise it's not like misery.
it. We love that.
He's
So
not working on a novel. They didn't kidnap him.
Right. It's just Heather. A list of things that Heather has done: been a socialite, been an influencer, bought a cabin in the woods, kidnapped Mothman. Uh, we
As you
love
do.
that. As you do, you see a Mothman in the woods. He's got to come home with you. Sometimes they don't understand. Um, so when we kind of look at their relationship, um, would you say that where you end off, that it's obviously it's a happy for now. How complicated would you say their relationship is where we end off?
Oh, they're so in love. They're the sweetest sweetie pies. They have some stuff that they need to work out in a how does the future look for us sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that they are a pretty functioning couple. Um, but they're going to have a lot of outside forces and also just sort of like emotional challenges in the next book. So they leave off in a really good place. And I would say if they could keep having their cozy life, they'd continue to be pretty good. But things happen,
As you
and
do.
yeah, and things happen, and that's how second books happen.
Precisely. We love that. Okay. Um, so then what is something that you really want to either talk about or touch on for the book that maybe we haven't touched on before?
Oh gosh, we covered a lot of ground. I'm trying to think. Does anyone have any questions while I'm thinking? We can always lean on
Lean on
wonderful
Chet.
commenters. Yeah. Um, what is something that would be nice to touch on?
Oh,
Are you?
is there genetic compatibility to them? Like, do the
Oh
parts
yeah.
match?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's I didn't go too wild with appendages. So it's gas babies. Babies? No, not in this. Wait.
Not
Like,
in this
do they
book.
have babies? Not in this book. Not in the next book. The third book isn't plotted yet, but I don't think so. Will they have babies? Like headcanon? I think maybe. I think maybe Heather and Moth are parents like years down the road for them. But Heather's not ready yet. That's not
Right. She's
something that
also
she
22.
can.
She's got plenty of time.
Yeah, she can decide that later.
Okay.
But yeah, I explicitly made sure I mentioned birth control because I knew that if I didn't, people would be like, okay, so is this a surprise baby kind of book? And it is not.
It's not. Fair.
um, let's see. You know when you get asked a question of like, what else do you want to say? And you're like, what are
Instant blank blue screen.
yeah.
I feel ya.
I think genuinely I really wanted to create a book that like had like a really cozy monster romance feeling and like made people feel pretty good while they were reading it. That is there is still some tension, there is still some drama, and there's a monster hunter in the book. So monster hunting, and there's a threat of danger too. So I've mentioned a lot of like cozy cottage core cookie baking and flower crowns, but there's also like an element of like I don't want anything to happen to this giant monster that landed on my roof. I think in uh, romance, a lot of times we see uh, she is like very very protective over him as well as him being protective over her, so she has this goal this whole time of like I want to keep him safe, like,
Mhm.
and they kind of keep saving each other in different ways, like so their first meeting he is technically kind of saving her, and then she saves him and it kind of just keeps going, so they really just like genuinely care for each other and want to be there for each other. And that was a really fun thing to explore too. Uh,
Yes. Are is there a monster universe that you're going to explore? Are we possibly going to see like other cryptids, or are you going like full monster book?
I'm in okay. So I have some people who are going to be introduced in the next book. So there's a person in Heather's life and a person in Moth's life that I think would be really fun to set up. So, and that would be another moth-like creature, maybe, if there are more, maybe,
Maybe.
and another human. And I will say my influence for those two characters, I don't want to say who they are Christine McConnell. If you follow her, she's this wonderful vintage queen. She had a Netflix show, The Curious Creations of Christine McConnell, and
Mm,
does this amazing crafting on Patreon. But she's just very elegant and
yeah.
honestly, if you amazing. And then the other influence is Doug Jones. He was the character actor for Billy from Hocus Pocus and
Yes.
uh yeah, the Shape of the Water, What We Do in the Shadows. I love him. I love him so much. And I think those two sort of personalities and archetypes would be really fun to smash together. So I have two characters who are very much like them that I want to set up. I also have sort of an enemies to lovers spin off that could happen from this. There's a lot of like little lovable characters I'd like to like pluck together. As far as other cryptids, maybe I have a vampire office romance that I am sort of plotting as well. It's like one of those, the series where each book follows a different set of characters, like that whole.
Yes.
It's really people do it all the time. I really want to do that and have three friends who work at the same office and different sort of like. I need to write these two before I get into that, but I'd
Right.
really I'd like to dabble with some vampires and some spin-off novellas. As far as other cryptids, I feel like it would be fun, but I need to do some research because I really fell in love with Mothman and I need to fall in love with some other cryptids in order to get some inspiration.
And, and there are a lot. There are a lot. I mean, just let me know if you ever want to go down Goatman's path because I've got you. Horns, hooves, and claws. We're all here for. He
Yeah.
stands weird.
Um, oh,
Oh yeah.
oh, sorry. Do you want to read the questions
Oh,
or is it okay
did
if
you
I do?
want to mention why he crash lands on the roof, or
There's
is that a
a
spoiler?
storm. No, there's a storm.
Huh.
Why was he around there? Maybe he's got a crush too. Maybe he's checking her out. Maybe he's checking on her. But there's a very bad storm and he crashes on the roof.
Little baby got hit in the. That's gonna start to be a monster that flies when
You're
natural
like,
things happen like that, right? Because like you're in an airplane in turbulence, you're like, oh, but then imagine
she's
being the plane. Just,
she's reflecting on that too, where she's like, you seem like that shouldn't happen. Why were you even over here in this weather? Oh, were you
oh,
checking on me?
yes, I can't wait. I'm so excited. Um, so what I would love for you to do is go ahead and reintroduce yourself,
Yeah.
reintroduce your book, pitch it to the readers as well, and then anywhere you want people to look for you, any like socials, anything like that you want to plug.
Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. My name's Paige Lavoie, and I wrote a book called I'm in Love with Mothman about a burnt out social media influencer who moves to the middle of nowhere and falls in love with, you guessed it, Mothman. It's a sweet, cozy, medium burn romance, and I hope you will check it out for the holiday season and get cozy with a cryptid. You can check me out on Instagram. I'm Mrs. Paige Lavoie, and that is where I'm most active. But if you want the latest news as it comes out, you should sign up for my mailing list because that is where I'm posting exclusive snippets. That's where I'm posting what is going on next. And that's where you will get opportunities to be like early readers and ARC readers for next projects, and love to have you there.
Ah,
That was my
so
sales
excited.
voice. I keep doing this. I wish I could. It's like my bad habit whenever I'm on camera. I'm like, hello.
I mean, just the problem is like when you're on a camera this way, your hands don't, they're weird. Like I go full Wednesday Adams with my hands sometimes, and I'm just like, how creepy does it look to just be like perched? What do I do with my fingers?
What do I do with my
Absolutely.
hands?
So are there oh, and also please announce your release party here in Orlando,
Oh,
Florida.
okay, yes, that is going to be at Joybird Books in Orlando, Florida from no, Joybird Books in Orlando, Florida from 5 to 6 on September 7th. September? No, let's do that again. We're just gonna new take. Ugh. Um, hi, I have a release party at Joybird Books on December 17th from 5 to 6. Come on and hang out, friends. Okay.
We love that.
New take.
Um, as much as I have always like practiced my best speeches, sometimes my mouth and my tongue just get way ahead of my brain. So
Mhm,
I gets it.
mhm.
And is there anything else you kind of wanted to pitch or um, have people know about prior to release, which is on the what again?
Thursday. It's on the 1st. So December 1st is when the book releases. I actually the pre-order incentive I was running, it just ended today. I all of the keychains were claimed, so I don't have that going on anymore. But I would say just stay tuned on social media, and I would love for you to order the book from your favorite independent bookstore. It says it's sold out on Amazon. Amazon's being a little tricky. So definitely use this as an opportunity to shop at Bookshop. I've been recommending The Ripped Bodice. It's a romance bookstore in California, and it is incredible. Meet Cute is another great one. Or just wherever you go locally to shop for books, it should be in stock online. So yeah, support indie if you're able to. I understand Amazon is convenient, and I'm not judging anyone for getting their books on there, but it's the paperback isn't on there right now, so go elsewhere and have fun. Oh, and Barnes and
And
Noble, if you're watching today, is doing I think it's Cyber 15 and you get 15% off. Yes, please request it from your local library. Also, there's going to be an audiobook. I listened to auditions last week and I got to pick a narrator and she's so good. And I don't know when that's coming out, but it will happen. So if you prefer audiobooks, there will be one and I can't wait.
I'm so excited. Uh, so I would like to thank you for coming on this live and thank you for allowing me to interview you. This was one fantastic, it's really fun. But
So
two,
much fun.
you're absolutely fantastic, and we vibe very well. So I was really excited to get on the live with
So
you.
much fun. This was like legitimately, I'm like, you're being interviewed, keep it together. But I just wanted to be like, can we just hang out and keep talking? This was very fun.
And absolutely, anytime, like, if you want to, like, just go live and have a bunch of
Yeah,
other author friends, let me know. I'm down to have a party,
good to
just about
know.
any other day. Uh,
Perfect.
Small logistics announcement. Hi, my name is Lizzie Strong. I am a monster romance author where the monsters are spooky, scary, but the romance is cute and cuddly. My newest release, Nymph on the Rocks, comes out December 13th. So it is available for pre-order on the Amazon. So if you like rock stars that look like Eddie Munson, but if he were green with a tail and horns, you should absolutely check this one out. And this is Nymph on the Rocks is like, hey, I don't want him to be unalived, so him and Chrissy get an actual happily ever after. I'm so excited for this one. I actually just got the proof in the mail.
Oh my gosh. I'm so
I
excited.
have to fix a few of the cover issues, but it looks really pretty.
Okay, so you said pre-orders are going live. When is this out?
It comes out December 13th, so we've got 2 weeks. Six. Oh yeah, exactly 3 weeks. No, 2 weeks. I can't math. So December 13th, Nymph on the Rocks comes out. So that will be my last release of the year. I do these interviews every Tuesday and Thursday. I do have one scheduled for a Saturday coming up. And I will be taking all of January off from interviews to just kind of do some hangout lives. So anything you see me live after in January will just be all of us being ridiculous. So be prepared for that. And also, if you haven't already, go ahead and join my Discord. The link is in my link tree. We're not super active at the moment. We are mostly just so that everyone doesn't lose each other because the clock app is finicky at best. So just in case, my time has come and the clock app just deems that I'm going under, you can find me on Discord or at lizzystrongauthor.com. And I would like to thank everyone who came in and hung out in the chat, everyone who asked questions. Is there any last thing you would like to say before I close out our fantastic night?
Just thank you. This was delightful. This was so much fun. Everyone, please order Lizzie's new book. It sounds like you have 2 new books to pre-order, everybody. Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
so much monster romance. So
Yes.
much. So excited.
Thank you so much. This was a blast. Thank you for having me. And thank you to
Thank you
all the
for
questions and comments. This was just a delight.
um so with that, I would like to bid everyone a good night and a goodbye.
Bye, everybody.